Flosstube friends, welcome back to my channel. A very warm welcomes to you all. Wow, it's January 2021. This is my first update of the year, and you know what, it feels like forever since we sat and chatted in my kitchen. So I was like, you know what, we need to do the kitchen chat. We need to be in the kitchen. So welcome to my kitchen. If you are new and you have not done it already, please don't forget to hit the little subscribe button, give me a little thumbs up and let me know that you like it. Mixed bag, people. So for those that watched my Stitch with me, I threw a question out there, and I did on my end of year of 2020 that, you know, would you be upset if I didn't just talk about cross stitch? And I would say that 95% of you turned around and said, you know what, Teresa, talk about whatever you like. So shouldn't have opened that door, people. But needless to say, I did fall down a rather large rabbit hole towards the end of 2020. And a lot of other floss tubers talk about other stuff. You know, they don't just come on and talk about cross stitch. You know, they've got other crafts that they do, whether that be quilting or knitting or crocheting. Admittedly, my other craft isn't fabric related. It's papercrafts. Well, specifically card making, it appears that I fell down. But I thought, well, you know what? I'll just chuck it all together, but what I will do is, I am mindful of the fact that there are so many of you that only hang out with me for the floss tube side, for the stitching. So we will do the stitching first, the life update second, and then my paper crafting last. I won't submit you all to the paper crafting if it's not your bag. I will put timestamps in the description box below, so that, you know, if you just want to skip to certain pieces, then you can do that as well. So, but it's so great to be here and so great to hang out. It feels like I say, it feels like I haven't done a proper video where I've actually sat and talked to you properly in so long. So yeah, hello. Now, do I have a lot to share with you? Do I have a lot to show? At first I thought maybe not, but the more I've looked at it, it's like, well, it's not too bad. It's not too shabby, people, not too shabby. So where to start? A massive thank you to all of the people that messaged and commented back on my last video, which was a Stitch with me, which was the first one of 2021, where I told everyone about, well, rambled more like, about the fact that my mother-in-law had caught COVID and was really quite poorly. So many lovely messages, really quite touching to the heart. So thank you so much for all your thoughts and prayers. And I am pleased to say that mother-in-law has now been released from hospital. She is out of the woods. She's still struggling. She still can't breathe as well as she could, and she still struggles to sort of be up and actively mobile. But they have said that this could go on for months. Because of the whole long COVID thing. So she's definitely heading in the right direction, and no doubt the same as most people that have got it, had it, and got it serious enough that it put them into hospital. It takes a little while, I believe, for it to improve. So, but it was all good news, and like I say, you know, the lovely messages, thank you so much. Because of everything that's been going on and various other bits and pieces along with life in general, I didn't get back to everyone straight away, but I think I am up to date with answering all the comments in the comments now. So I think I'm on top of that list. I feel like I've got like this little checklist of things that I need to be doing and remind myself to do. But yeah, so needless to say, I've been a little lapse with getting back to people on YouTube. My apologies. You know how it is. I do read them all and I do get back to everyone eventually. So it's, yeah, if I've missed you, then I've completely missed you, because as far as I'm aware, I should be up to date and I should have answered all of the lovely comments and at least given you a little like or a little heart to say thank you and that I've read it. What to tell you? Update. Whip update. It's got to be done. Where to start? It's, I didn't think I'd stitched that much, to be honest, but I'm sort of on a new roll. with the way I'm doing stuff. And the whole sort of, you know, even though you think we've been in, you know, the COVID lockdown type of situation now for nearly a year, that I would have acclimatized to having sort of the dynamics of my family life turned upside down, would have resolved a lot sooner than now. But in actual fact, we're starting to find a bit of a happy medium. It's not perfectly happy, but it's the best we can do, and we're all rolling with it now. So I seem to be getting my downtime in the morning before I start work. Obviously I work from home now, so then I work from home. And then we're doing a little bit of activity through the day, you know, me and hubby, where we can. We try and do a bit of exercise together around lunchtime before he heads off to work or comes home from work, whichever his shift he's on. We walk the dog together, and then in the evenings is my stitching time. So if I'm still got any eyeballs left at that point, that's when I've been doing my stitching. So the only thing that I would say that I'm noticing, there's a big difference in how much quality time stitching I'm getting is on the weekends. So on the weekends, because he's predominantly here, and I'll go into sort of a bit of a life update at the end, but because he's predominantly here, the stitching isn't happening to the same, I don't have the number of hours that I did on the weekends to stitch. So because of that, I think my stitching has waned slightly. But that's not to say that it's disappeared. We haven't disappeared. So as usual, where I've got a picture of where you last saw it, I will post that up so that you can see a comparison. So first one up is the lovely Mirabillia Andromeda. This is what she will look like when she is done. And I didn't do a lot on her, I have to confess. And the information regarding what fabric I'm stitching on, I'm going to put that at the bottom, and I'll put it into the description box below for those. I get so many questions about what material that I'm stitching on, that rather than me trying to keep remembering off the top of my head, I thought, you know what, if I put it in the description box and I put it on the screen at the bottom, then for all of you that would like to know, you will see what it is. So you should have seen where we was last at, and this is where I have got to. So I've been doing some more skin. Which bit was I doing? So we done some more skin here around her neck area and coming down. I think that's it. Look at all these threads. I really do need to tidy this up. I haven't done any more at the bottom. And I'm sorry about the wrinkles because she hasn't been ironed either. But there she is. And obviously it was more about the skin. I just need to start cracking on and getting some of that skin done at the top. So this one is being stitched, like I say, the fabric I'll put below. It's being stitched 2/2 and the skin is being stitched 1/1. And this one, I only stitched on this for 2 days in January, but 2 days more than it would have been. So yeah, but I really do need to get her done because she's just one of those ones that I think once I've got her done, I'm going to love her, absolutely love her, but it's the whole getting her done. And yeah, you know how that is. But I've got my focus pieces. So my whip go for January. So there was 3 numbers that got called for whip go in January. One was the centre space. So that was a pick and mix. We could choose what we wanted. So I chose 2 other projects to work on and just split it over the 5 days. So I said to stitch on something for 5 days, but because it was the centre block and that's my free from block, I decided that I would do 2 days on one project and 3 days on the other project. And the other 2 projects were that I needed to get at least 5 days stitching on alternative reality and evening in the park. And that's basically all I've managed to do this month. But hey, I am not going to beat myself up because I've done lots of other stuff as well. And I do feel like I've actually achieved something, along with all the dramas that have gone on this year so far. What else have I stitched on? So the next one that I stitched on And I think I was stitching on this, or I had stitched on this through Christmassy time, where I'd sort of said that there was lots of projects on my end of year review that I did, where I was like, you know what, it's embarrassing that I haven't stitched on this, that and the other. So the next one that I spent a bit of time stitching on is the lovely Mirabillia Winter White Santa, of which has been severely neglected. And I did say that I wanted to try, where I can, to try and pull it out and do a little bit on it. I don't think I did too bad, actually. Considering that it was like an impromptu, I really need to do something with this. So, around now you should be seeing where you last saw it. Winter White Santa, I gave it 3 days. So he got 3, and like I say, I'm barely stitching on the weekends, but when I can stitch on the weekends, it's just a couple of hours, if that. Most of my stitching is happening in the evenings, of which I just do like an hour. It's not like I'm getting hours and hours. But even so, this is where I got to. Can't see what you can see. Hopefully you are seeing it. Yes, you are. So as you can see, this bit just here, where the shoulder is in all the blues, was where I was stitching. So I absolutely love the fabric, apart from the fact that I don't actually like putting the needle into it, but I do actually like the fabric. I love the fact that it looks like he's on clouds, and they look like winter. It looks like a wintry sky to me. So yeah, so I'm quite happy with this little chunk over here that I have actually managed to do. So I wouldn't say we're off to a galloping start, but we've definitely made a little more progress than we would have done. But then, hey, that's not unusual, is it? And also, I have had lots of requests asking me about these sleeves that I put my bars in. So when I've finished working on a project, and this isn't nightly, so maybe I should explain this. So I often get asked about sort of, you know, how I'm storing my stuff. So let me show you. So if it's a project that is on the bars that I'm actually currently stitching on, when I'm not stitching on it and through the night, it has a cover on it, of which is a protector. So this is my covering protector. This is from Shell's Patch. So she makes these for me, or I have them made. They're open on the back, and they just cover my work up so it doesn't get dusty when I'm not actually working on it. So when it is on the frame, once I've loosened my fabric off, I will put the cover over and leave it overnight. And then it will just stay on the stand, and I'll just whip the cover off as and when I'm going to stitch on something. For those projects that I've finished stitching on and I'm going to pack them away, most of the projects stay on their bars. So where they stay on their bars, I made these little sleeves so that I can hang them up. And I put a little tag on there so that I knew which project was what. And then all I do, I have got ends for the bars, which hold the bars together, which I got from Needle Needs. But because they're going into these little baggies, I don't really need to sort of put them together because the bag holds them together. And they just slide in, like so. See? And so many people have asked me about where I purchased them from. I didn't purchase them. I made these. But I cannot take credit for them because the lovely long-timer Flosstuber, Teresa, the left-handed, no, sorry, Teresa, that's me. Trisha, the left-handed stitcher, was the one that actually sort of done a tutorial on how she made hers. So all I done was basically made some adaptations to hers. So I will put a link in the description box below for Trisha, the left-handed stitcher. If you would like to make your own little baggies, then you could follow her tutorial. Alternatively, if you really want me to, I could do a little tutorial of how I do mine. But trust me, Trisha, the left-handed stitcher, is much more proficient with her sewing machine than I am. But of course, I can show you how I made mine if you need it or would like it. So there we go. So that is Winter White Santa. And like I say, he got 3 days worth of stitching. So the next one is my winter CC, so Cricket collection. It's a new start for January 2021. Oh, close people. And you remember that I had got the little floss folder from Ladybird. And here it is. Here's my project, all loaded up, all on it. I love it, absolutely love it, it's perfect. And my chart fits perfectly in this little side bit here. So, as you can see, this is what I'm stitching. Oh, she says, let me take it out of the folder because it's in its plastic front. Here it is. This is what it will look like. I would love to sit here and say I'm going to get it done by the end of this winter, but the fact that we're already at, what is it today? The 31st of January. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get it done because I think winter finishes here at the end of March. And then we're in spring as of April. So yeah. Maybe if I was stitching in the mornings, in the night times and on the weekend, I'd probably get it done, but I'm not sure that I would get it done at the moment. But hey, never say never. This one I can show you the fabric that I've decided to go with. So it's a Chromatic Alchemy fabric in the colourway Tempest. It's a 28 count Brittany Lugana. There we go. So that is what we decided to stitch it on. And you're just going to be wowed by this whole 3 days worth of... Now, I say it was 3 days. I did start it. I got so far on and then realised that I'd made a boo-boo. So I had to rip it back out and start again. Now, you're going to look at this fabric and go, oh, that looks familiar. Here's the fabric. And this is my little bit of stitching. That's my 3 days worth of stitching. Admittedly, there was more before. Now, you see this? You see this pattern on the fabric? I know. So the winter white centre, this one, is the same fabric. However, this one is a pearlescent, as you can see. It's got little sparkles. You see the sparkles? Where are they? There. You can see the sparkles. This one is just the normal version. It's not got the sparkles in. And for those that were ever wondering, does it really make a difference if it's got the sparkles in it versus no sparkles on a hand-dyed fabric? Totally. So you can even see the fluff that's left on there where I've been pulling stuff out. But the holes on this are so much clearer. See that? So when people sit there and say, you know, the opalescence, I don't know whether it's something to do with the process, but if you go with a standard fabric in a certain count, I find the holes are clearer and easier to see than on one that's got the sparkles on the opalescent. So it is the same fabric. It's the same fabric and it's supposed to be the same count. They're both 28 counts. Yet this one I can stitch on without a problem, and this one, even with my mag eyes, I really struggle. So yeah, just saying. But it's the same fabric. So it's going to have the little clouds. So that is my winter CC or Cricket collection. So fingers crossed I can get that one done between now and the end of winter. So at least I've got it. It would be lovely if I'd have applied myself a little bit more frequently to it so that I could get it actually on the wall before the end of this winter, so that at least it can go up on the wall. But I don't see it happening somehow. I've been, yeah. You know when you're just getting, it's not even that I'm being pulled in different directions, it's just that I'm choosing to do other things other than the same thing. So that's just me. What's next, people? Next. So, WIP Go for January, the two main projects that I was focusing on for 5 days alternative reality and 5 days on evening in the park. So, alternative reality is next. About now, I will be showing you a picture of what it should look like and where you last saw it. And I don't think I did too bad. You know, when you sort of, I felt quite, I felt like I was, yeah, making quite a good dent in it. And this one had 8 days stitching. So here we go. And that is where I have got to. So literally I've been working on this section around here. Absolutely love it. And I know I've said that that's 8 days worth of stitching, but like I said, I'm not getting hours of stitching on these. It's literally half an hour here, an hour there, an hour and a half here. So it's literally sort of token gesture-ish, if I'm honest. But I've decided that I am making alternative reality and evening in the park my focus pieces this year, purely because they are my oldest projects. So alternative reality got 8 days. So although I only needed to do 5, I decided that I was enjoying it so much that I wanted to do some more. And then finally, the lovely evening in the park, Chatelaine. You know how much I love this one. It's this one, for those of you that haven't seen the chart. And I have so many questions about where do you get, you know, where do you get the charts? Where do you get the Chatelaine? Where do you get the fabric? Where do you get the products? So I personally, and this is just my own personal way, is that I purchased the chart direct from the Chatelaine website, of which I will put in the description box below and here. And because there are a lot of specialty threads that can be quite difficult to source for some, I always go to the European cross stitch company and let them make the bundle. So I normally choose my own fabric. I don't really like to go with just a standard fabric. I like a nice hand-dyed fabric. So I will normally just have the beads and the threads ordered through European cross stitch, and the fabric I normally source myself. So I think I've done that with all 3 of them. So I mean, the 3 that I've got that are kitted, ready to go, is obviously Evening in the Park, the Frosty Knot Garden, and the Sleeping Beauty. And all of them, I ordered the chart from the Chatelaine website, the beads and the threads from the European cross stitch company. And then when I get that, then I sort of, you know, decide on my fabric, because I like to see my threads, what colour the threads are, so that I can sort of work out the colour of fabric. That's just me. You know, I know a lot of people that actually sub out where they can the specialty threads to DMCs, and I also know people that, you know, because it can be quite difficult to source some of the different brands that have been used in the Chatelaines, that they've substituted for alternative threads. So you don't have to have the silk threads. I personally love working with all the different silk threads and the threads that it's charted with, but that's not to say that you can't switch them out for other threads. It will just look different to how you've seen it on the chart. So Evening in the Park got 5 days or 5 nights of stitching, and it's still on the frame because it's literally being worked on currently, and today is its last day, and then this goes away. So, and a lot of people have said to me, you know, how do you, you know, what's with the, right, I bead as I go because I don't want to get left with all the beading at the end. But everyone sort of said, well, once you've done your beading, how do you, right, well, this is how I do it. So I just use felt. And I lay felt inside the bars and then roll it up. So that way it just, the beads squish onto the felt. They don't sort of squish into the fabric or squish into the bars is the biggest thing, because you could either damage your beads or damage your fabric if you just roll it up when it's beaded. And because on the scroll bars with these sort of tighteners, to get your fabric nice and tight, you potentially could damage your fabric or your beads. I don't tend to have it so that it's drum tight once I've got beads on there, but I do have it fairly tight. But by putting this felt in between the stitching and the bars when it rolls up, I don't have any problems. So the other thing that I wanted to say as well, for those of you that are using scroll bars and you're doing chatelaines where you've got, you know, beads and various other things on, regarding warping of the fabric. So where you have these really quite tight, these side stretchers, where you have these quite tight and then you relax them off. So I literally just unwind them like so, which will then, oh, as you can see, I've unwound that one so much that it's fell out the bottom. Hold on. That's it. So when you've been working on it and you relax off your side stretchers, everyone's like, oh, okay, I'm done for the day. What I tend to do, just to be really careful, especially on things like the chatelaines or the full coverage heaven and earth designs, anything that's really quite big that you're going to be spending months, possibly years working on, and it's going to be stretched and then relaxed and stretched. The one thing that everyone forgets to do, me included, I am my own worst enemy when it comes to it, is although you've relaxed off these side stretchers, always make sure that you relax off the fabric around your main bars. So what I'll do is, once I've relaxed the sides off, I'll then manipulate the fabric a little bit, both top and bottom, so that I have some movement in the fabric. So if I twist, don't know if you can tell, hold on. So if you look there, that's nice and loose on my bars, and I do that all the way through. And the reason that I do that is, when you've got the ability to have these bars set to make the fabric so taut, although you end up relaxing this bit in the middle, you've still got, if you've got a lot of fabric that's actually rolled around these bars, it doesn't relax this. So I manually relax this, and that way it makes sure that, one, I'm not going to sort of distort the fabric, and two, because I've got beads that are inside here, by relaxing it off, it doesn't put any tension. Of course, it would be wrong for us not to have a typical camera shutdown. That just goes with the territory here. So yeah, so that was just a bit of information, because I often get asked these questions, and because I'm asked them individually, I'll comment on it, but then the same question comes back up. So yeah, so when you're relaxing your bars off, make sure that not only are you just undoing the stretchers, relaxing the stretchers, make sure you relax the fabric that's around the bars, because that way there's no tension on your fabric. Okay, so I've sort of shown you what I needed to show you anyway, but I'm gonna unravel it so that you can actually see it. Hopefully I'll be able to do this still sitting down rather than having to stand up. So let me just take the sides off. And show you where we have got to. So I've come up with a little, I say a cunning plan, it's not a cunning plan. I've come up with a way that I think that I want to continue to work on this, being that I'm making it a focus piece. As you can see, here we are. This is where I've got to. There's a whole lot of lantern that's going on. So since the last time you saw this, I have put lanterns in down the sides here. I have completed this sidebar, or this corner section. And then over on this side, I have completed this bar, and I've started on these 2 lanterns. I've got one more lantern to go. Which side is it? This side over here. You can see that, oh, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah, I've started on the gate. So that's the gate on the side that will mirror this gate here. So yeah, you know when you feel like you're actually getting somewhere? I'm sort of there. So obviously we've still got the corners to do on both of these sides, but my aim at the moment is to get all of the lanterns done. This corner still needs to be beaded, and obviously the trees need to go on. Now I don't want to leave all the trees so that I do all the trees at the same time. So I think I'm going to do this like a bit of a pick and mix. That, you know, one day I'll do 2 trees here, or a tree, and then I might go down and do a bit of the corner down here and try and do it that way, because otherwise I can see me getting completely burnt out on the trees. The lanterns, not a problem. Lanterns are really quite easy. They're like a stitch a night, which is sort of what it sort of worked out at. I mean, I've said I've done, how many days is it? This is day 5 is today. And I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do one more. I would like to get all of the lanterns done by the end of today on this piece. And then I will have got to where I'm happy with. So, but I absolutely love this. But it is a focus piece. I mean, dear God, if I can't get this done by the end of this year, there is something seriously wrong with regards to my stitching capabilities. Because, yeah, I just need to have it on the wall now. And it would be so lovely to have this one done and hanging up somewhere so that I can just look at it and enjoy it, because it's that type of project. It really is. Absolutely love that one. Okay, let's roll him up. So that is it for my stitching. That is my update of what I've actually achieved on the stitching side. I know, right? Considering that I've sort of had all my fingers in all the pies, I don't actually feel that it was that bad. I mean, yes, of course, I could always stitch more, but then couldn't we all? Couldn't we all just stitch more? Sorry, I've got to drink my coffee. I've got such a dry throat. And, yeah, I made the coffee intending to drink it before I started the video, then started the video and thought, you know what, I haven't drunk my coffee. First world problems, people. Okay, so what to tell you. So Whip Go got drawn for February. I'm in the Whip Go. So February's numbers are 20 and 4, and would you believe it, both are alternative reality. So that means that in February I need to stitch 10 days worth of stitching on alternative reality to hit my goals on Whip Go. So it's holding me accountable. About now I'll show you my Whip Go board. I did show you at the end of the year, but the plan is, as you can see, there is a lot of alternative reality on there and a lot of evening in the park, with the aim that they're going to be my focus pieces. And by using the Whip Go as my, you know, to keep me on track, by having so much of alternative reality and evening in the park as options on there, it should theoretically speed things along, because I don't like to, you know, I don't like to fail at my Whip Goes on a monthly basis. What else to tell you? So there was a lovely lady called Laurie Carroll who commented on one of my videos and mentioned using fray check to help with the fraying. Now I think that this was for the fraying around the edges. Now for those of you that have been with me for some time, you will remember there was a drama, a massive drama, with the lovely Mirabillia Roses of Provence, where I had to unpick a portion of the white because I'd done something wrong, which is not unusual. I'd gone wrong, and somewhere along the way someone had sort of said you can use a little bit of fray check If you've got no way of, the problem was I'd pulled out a load of stitches in the middle section, which then left me with two ends which were not long enough to be able to use them to sort of feed them back in to secure the threads. And it started to all show signs of unravelling. And I, of course, decided to pull out the fray check bottle in the hope that I could just dab a small tiny bit on those ends and secure them down so that they didn't start to unravel. Unfortunately for me, a big blob of fray check fell out all over the project on the back in the middle of her dress. And then when it hardened, I had to actually punch my own holes back through the fabric to be able to stitch over the top to, yeah. Needless to say, it was a total disaster. I have a total fear of fray check. But for those of you that are having problems with your edges fraying, yes, fray check is an option. Me, no, it's not an option. I will never use that stuff ever again. I have nightmares over fray check. So yeah, so Laurie, thank you for the tip. Yeah, no, fray check definitely not for me. Just in case I, accidentally, drop the whole bottle on my project or something along that lines, because yeah, not a good experience for me. What else to tell you? A bit of life update. So for those of you that, are only here for the stitching, not interested in life update, then thank you so much for hanging out with us. For those that are here to listen to me ramble, then of course, here we go, let's ramble. So like I said, the mother-in-law is now out of hospital, and she is having problems with her breathing still, and obviously it has really took it out of her. But she is back on her feet. She is taking it easy. Of course, we only get to sort of talk to her through the window. But instead of making her come to the door, we like just sit at the dining room table and talk with the window open. I said, don't tire yourself out. But she is bouncing back slowly. It's just the whole sort of not being able to hold a conversation for too long without sounding like she's sort of getting out of breath. So as long as we do more of the talking, she seems to be fine. So yeah, all looking good in that area. Mummy is all booked in for her COVID vaccine on Friday this week. So I'm really looking forward to that, so that I know that she can get it done. Then of course she has to wait, I think it's 21 or 28 days before the vaccine really kicks into her system. So, I mean, where Mum has sort of been shielding for so long, and she's starting to go a little stir crazy. Really stir crazy. And because of that, I've sort of said to her, I've given her a little bit of a goal. So I was like, look, get the vaccine done. We'll wait the 28 days. And then after the 28 days, we're going to put her mobility scooter, the small one, into the back of the car. And I said, we'll drive somewhere that's just not the street. And at least I can take her for her bit of exercise, because she hasn't even been out for exercise. She's just not been out at all, in fear that she was going to catch it. So yeah, so it's about time Mummy actually went out into the big wide world. So that is the plan. So we're going to get the vaccine done, wait the 28 days, and then yeah, Mum's going to go out for a little joyride. And we're just going to go somewhere where I know there's very few people, and that she can drive a mobility scooter and, get the wind in her ears and, and on her face, and actually inhale deeply with some fresh air. So that's Mummy. But other than that, Mum is perfectly fine. She's all tucked up. She's not a great lover of really cold weather anyway, because she doesn't like too many layers and being all stuffed up. So yeah, but we're all heading in the right direction there. So, and the fact that she's got a COVID vaccine booked is great. Hubby is still around, more than he ever was, but we're getting the right sort of balance. There's a bit more balance to stuff now. Through the week, he's either on lates or earlies, so we tend to do our exercise together. He does his weight training in the living room whilst or he might jump in and do a bit of HIIT with me, or I might jump in and do a few weights with him. So we've been sort of like training together. You know, we take the dog for a walk most nights, apart from if he's on late, and then I take the dog for a walk. Weekends, I think, is the biggest problem. So like today is the first time in I don't know how long since I've been able to actually have the camera on a weekend. The kids are still in bed asleep and he's out at work. So yeah, I'm really quite grateful. And it's really unusual for him to be working on Saturday afternoons. So the fact that it's a Saturday afternoon instead of just a morning is fabulous. So it gives me the time that I need. And I tell you what, it proved the point. The minute he wasn't here, I grabbed for the camera and I was like, I must do my Flosstube update. So yeah, I do struggle with him being around. What else to tell you? Weekends have been the biggest problem as far as actually getting productive stitching done. Obviously, I'm working from home now, so there's no excuse that I have to do my house cleaning on the weekends, because I don't. I do my house cleaning in the mornings. But I've done that for a long time. Even when I was at work, I would still get up at 5 o'clock on a Saturday and Sunday morning and do my housework, so that I had the day to then do as I pleased. The difference is now is that I still get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday anyway, and also on Saturday and Sunday. But I don't have to do the housework on Saturday and Sunday because I've normally done it during the week. But because we are looking at starting the build, the plan is that we're waiting for the weather to lift. So around sort of end of March, beginning of April, I think we will be looking. We're trying at the moment to source all of the materials that we need, because obviously if we can't get our hands on the roof tiles, then we can't start, because at the moment, because of production being slow and sort of transportation and importing of the tiles, I think there's a lead time of about 12 weeks. So yeah, so we need to get cracking on ordering the materials so that they're going to be here in time for when we need to start. That said, the last 2 weekends have been spent with going up into the loft and getting down. Do you know what? The stuff we store. I mean, I don't know. I mean, here in the UK, we call them lofts, up in the loft. I think in America and stuff, you call it your attic, I think. Or is your attic a room? No, I think your attic is like a storage area, like ours. So at the moment, in my loft, we've gone up there 2 weekends in a row and brought boxes after boxes after boxes down. And I swear to God, why do we need to keep all those boxes? I mean, we have kept boxes for like old TVs, DVD players, you know, tool boxes, you name it, there's a box up there for it. And paperwork. You know, my husband's self-employed. There is a ton of paperwork that, yes, you need to keep his paperwork for a certain number of years, but it didn't need to be nearly 10 or 12 years old, did it? Along with that, there has just been a ton of it's like, you know, old clothes, paperwork, electronics and gadgets. I mean, we came across the very first iPhone, the iPhone 1. We have an iPhone 1 in our loft. And when I said to my husband, I was like, well, we don't need that, do we? And he was like, no, we need to keep that. I'm like, why? And he went, well, it's like a relic now. He said, we need to keep it. And I'm like, why? Why are we keeping an iPhone 1? You're never going to use it. He went, well, because it's like an antique. And I was like, no, this is just... I said, you're just keeping tut now. I said, well, why are we keeping tut? I said, for the sake of keeping tut. But literally, on the flip side of that, I came across a suitcase, and when I opened the suitcase, it was lots of Lauren's little, you know, first baby grows, first socks, baby blankets. And Chris, all I wanted to do was wash them and sort of box them back up. And he was like, well, what are you doing with these? These can go. And I was like, you can't throw those. That's Lauren's baby blankets and Lauren's baby booties. And he's like, well, he said, you told me I'm not allowed to keep the iPhone 1. And I was like, all right, you keep your iPhone 1. I'm keeping Lauren's firsts of everything. I mean, admittedly, all of her schoolwork, I just can't part with it, no matter how much I try. And I'm like, you know, you don't need every book that the kid wrote in year after year. But it's like all of her school reports and her little books that she's got her little pictures and her doodles in. Yeah, I'm really struggling to work out how I, you know, downscale the Mirabillia or memorabilia stuff, you know, or stuff that she's likely to want, you know, to look back on when she's older. And yeah, that was, so needless to say, there has been dust and boxes and, you know, taking stuff to the tip, then loads of stuff that I ended up putting onto Facebook to sell, because there's just, I mean, honestly, there's stuff in that loft that is perfectly acceptable. You know, I mean, I know they say, what is it? One man's toot is another man's treasure. And I get that to a certain extent, because there are things up in that loft that I'd completely forgotten about. They'd been put up there, maybe never used or used once. And for me, they were like, I'm never going to use it, but that's too good to throw away. So I'd kept it. But then it sat up there for like 5-10 years. And then literally I put certain things on Facebook to sell, and they sold just like that. I was like, I had people being like, is it still available? I'm like, yeah, come round. I mean, literally, I mean, when I say we was giving it away, it was like, have it for a tenner. You know, there was a perfectly good foot massager and foot spa, which had never been used. Literally, I had them bought for my birthday, never used them. One was an ionic foot massager or whatever. Never used it. It was probably worth about between 50 and 60 pounds when it was bought. Never got used. Complete waste of money. Sold it for a tenner. But yeah, but I said to my husband, look, get everything down. Anything that we think might sell on Facebook, we'll put it up for sale. It has a week. If it doesn't sell within the week, we're done. It goes to the tip, or it goes to, I mean, problem is you can't even take it to like the Oxfam shop, or I think in the America you call it like the Goodwill or the second-hand shop. You can't even take it somewhere where other people could just appreciate it and it can be sold, because none of the shops are open. So it's like, well, if we don't get rid of it by selling it, yes, we can offer it free and just make it as a free option that someone can come and pick it up and collect it. You could do that. But then it's like, well, then at that point it's going to the dump and it's going to be chucked away. But that just seems a little wasteful. So it's trying to be resourceful and find ways of sort of giving up certain things that would be useful for other people, but without sort of coming into contact with people, or, you know, what do you do with it all? I mean, I can't put it all back in the loft again, because obviously we're going to start work up there and we can't board it out if we've got tons and tons of stuff up there. So we've got to do something with it. So yeah, so needless to say, my weekends have been filled with stuff and toot everywhere. So not much stitching has happened over the last couple of weekends. And no doubt, I can't imagine anything is going to get any better. But we need to clear the space so that we can start boarding out, so that we're sort of ahead of the game before we actually start. So that is the plan. So that really is the life update, people. So for those of you that were just here for the stitching and the life update, we are done. But for those that wanted and would like to see a little bit of my paper crafts that I've been making, then stay tuned. So it's official. Paper crafting has taken over my life. And my office, and my money, and my space, and my time. Wow, huge rabbit hole, people. Huge. But thoroughly enjoying it. But it's costing me a fortune. Because the problem is whilst I'm working, I've got one screen which is my screen, and then I've got another screen which is my company screen. So that way I can normally have, I mean, before I was listening to the news, I would watch Flosstube. Now, Crafter's Companion. Crafter's Companion and Create and Craft, my two most favourite things to watch whilst I'm working. And the problem with that is I'll be working and you'll be listening and looking at the same time, and then all of a sudden something will come on and be like, oh, wow. And when they do their demonstrations, it's a bit like, I suppose, they don't do it in the stitching world, do they? You can't go, here's one I prepared earlier, and look how wonderful it is. And then we all go, I need one, I need one. We just look at charts and it's just like, that's gorgeous, I want one. But with paper crafting and card making, when they start doing their demonstrations and they sit there going, oh, it's so easy, you know, even someone that's new to it can do it. This is how you do it. You do this, you do that. They do it step by step. They do it right in front of you and you're just like, I need to do that. I need to do that one. And I need to do that one. But then it's like, well, I need to buy this and I need to buy that. Yeah, I have spent so much money. All my money this month has been spent on dyes, papers, cardstock, inks, stamps, and I mean, I wouldn't mind. But some of these dies and stamp sets, I mean, they're big. You know, they're like A5 size and A6 size. So yeah, rabbit hole doesn't even cut it. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to split my time between my stitching and the paper crafting, because it's like, well, I don't really want to give either one up. You know, I'm thoroughly enjoying the paper crafting. But with the paper crafting, I tend to have to do it in the office where all the stuff is with the die cutting machines. I mean, obviously I've got a Gemini Junior for Christmas from my daughter. I then went ahead and bought the foil and press, which does foiling. But I'd also already bought the Cricut Maker. So there's a whole nother stuff that it does. So it'll do all SVGs and cut files for me. So I ended up with so many options, but it was all a bit of everything, but not enough of everything that it would make lots of things. So before you know it, yeah, I ended up sort of ordering all this stuff, buying lots of dies and stamps, but then it's trying to make the time to be able to do it all. So the way that I'm doing it currently, and I'm hoping that this will just continue, is that where I get up so early in the morning, on the mornings that I'm not doing either my, you know, jumping on my bike to do my cycling on the turbo, or I'm not doing the housework, then I will sit in the study at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and I will make some card stuff. And then what I'll do is through the course of the day, as and when I've got a bit of time, I'll make the card. But I don't make the card as a whole. I make bits of the cards and then put it in little folders so that I've got them all the bits ready, so I can do it in bite-sized chunks. And then in the evenings, I tend to find that I don't really do much with the cards because I want to come and relax in the living room. And that's where my stitching comes into play, because the stitching doesn't make any additional mess. I can stitch and watch TV or listen to the TV at the same time, and I'm on the sofa nicely relaxed. So at the moment, the balance is quite nice. I've got a happy balance between the two. And fingers crossed that will continue. So let me show you, for those of you that were interested in my card making. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best card maker in the world, because I've still got so much to learn. But that's the problem. There is so much to learn. So the first one is a card that I've made for my husband for Valentine's Day. So here it is. And that basically says, a lifetime is not long enough to love you. And this is using the foil and press. And then it's shaped underneath as well. So I've shaped it as a heart inside and out. I haven't done the messaging on the inside yet. I haven't got there. But yeah, so that is my card that I made for my husband. But this is what I like. They're almost like little concept cards. So what I do is I stamp, die, you know, the pieces, stick them in these little plastic wallets, and then when I'm on a call or I'm on lunch or I'm taking a break from work, at that point I'll then sit and glue it all together or stick it or whatever. But I'm absolutely loving Crafter's Companion because they do so many demonstrations. They make it look so easy, and then when you do it, it's like, actually, that was fairly easy. So the next one, again, this is a Crafter's Companion die. So this is a layered die. So each one of these has been layered. And then obviously you just do your matting. And then I've done a bit of an embossing sentiment. But I really like my bumblebee one. Really love my bumblebees. At the moment, I'm just trying to find a bumblebee that I could actually, like a 3D bumblebee that I can put on the front or in the corner, in one of the corners. I think it would look quite nice if it had a little bumblebee on there. But that is all stamped. So I did that one. And I did this one, which is similar, but instead of bumblebees, it is, I think they're cosmos flowers, and I stamped the final stamp section. I done embossing, so I embossed the outlines in like a copper. I don't know if you can see it. And then I matched the copper mat board. And then a little sentiment stamp with love on your birthday. So yeah, it's another one. But I do like the whole being able to, you know, do a bit of a card without actually having to make the whole card. But they do say if you're going to make something, you should make more than one. So I have been making, like where I can, I've been sort of making 2 or 3 different types. See, this one's an example. So this is my sympathy card. Unfortunately, when my mother-in-law got took into hospital, I think she'd been in there about 2 or 3 days. Unfortunately, my next door neighbour but one actually passed away from COVID. He wasn't particularly old, love him. But yeah, so I needed a sympathy card. But obviously, not leaving the house, I was like, well, I'm not going out to the shops just to buy a sympathy card. I'll make one. So this is my sympathy card that I made, or one of them. Obviously, I had to give one away. So there we go. Again, real simple. All I've done is foiling of the dandelion. I think they're dandelions. I can't remember what those are called. I think they're dandelions. And then I've just put a little red sparkly gem in the middle, and then a little sentiment saying with deepest sympathies. So because I'd done one, I thought, well, I'll do bulk and do different ones. So that one's got a little bit of background on it. I was just testing the water there with a bit of, I didn't really like that one very much, if I'm honest. But I was quite happy with the other ones. So they are my sympathy cards, and given that at the moment there seem to be a lot more people that I know that are departing this earth, I thought I'd better make sure that I have a few of those rather than just the one that I was doing. And then I went on to do some edgeables. I'm not 100% sure that I like this card, if I'm honest, as yet. I'm still undecided whether I like it or not, or whether I would actually give it away to anyone. But again, I've done a little bit of inking and a little bit of splatter. There's a little bug at the bottom, and then a Hello Beautiful stamp. So there's that one. And then I fell into the whole decoupage. I know. So I made the envelope. And then here is the card. I love this card. I love this card. It's small, but I love it. So it's all 3D and layered. And then on the inside. And then it's got like a matching envelope. I love that. Absolutely love it. I could make those all day long. All day long. Can you see how I end up spending so much money? And then there's this one. Tell me you don't love this. You know when it's just like, I bought it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, once I started putting it all together and I saw the patterns and I saw the colours, and I was like, oh, yeah. Absolutely love it. And again, all 3D, all decoupaged. The only thing with this one is I've still got to put the sentiment on. I've got a choice of sentiments. I've got enjoy your special day. Especially for you. Or happy birthday. But that's what I like about these, is that I don't actually have to put the sentiments on until I'm ready to decide whose card it is. And then once I know whose card it is, and I can decide for what purpose I'm using it. But what I tend to do is I put these little things that I cut out in the bag with them. And then also I made like a little gift tag to go on the gift that matches. So you've got the main card, the little gift tag. And obviously the sentiment, I can do the sentiment once I know who or what it's for. Absolutely love that. But I've had an absolute blast, you know, and I've tried a little bit of everything. So because I don't know enough to know what I like and what I don't like, I've tried a bit of everything. So again, this is another concept card where I've made all the bits, all stars, all glitter, some little glitter bits, happy birthday. And then what I'll do is I'll make the card up once I know who it's for, so I can work out what sentiment I want and embellishments I want. So there's that. What else? I think this is the last one of the actual cards that I've got here. So this one I've done for my neighbour. So this is the envelope, which was actually lovely. And then my next door neighbour loves camper vans and camping and caravanning and, you know, adventure stuff. So life's a pitch. And again, it's all sort of 3D. Absolutely love it. And it, again, little gift tag card as well. So everything's matching. So loving that. But because I've tried a little bit of everything, so I've done a little bit of stamping, a little bit of inking, a little bit of colouring. Oh, where's my colouring? Bits and pieces, and then thinking, right, okay, how am I going to use that on a card? So I've been practicing my colouring. So this is my stamping and colouring that I've been doing. Which I'm not sure. I've never done colouring. Let me put something behind it so you can see it. Let's put that behind. There we go. Is that any good, that colouring? And then I've sort of printed a few more. Because I was going to die cut them all out and then turn the elements into focal points of a card. So I haven't quite made it into a card. But, yeah. I thought the colouring wasn't too bad. What do you reckon? I'm not really sure. I don't know, maybe it's because it's me. Maybe I'm just being too critical of my own handiwork. But you know what it's like. And you see so many, because there are so many people on YouTube and on the demos that just make all of this look super easy. I mean, I've done a little bit of watercolouring. I've done a little bit of Copic marker work. So these are like blendable ink pens that I've used. But I've also done watercolouring with water pencils and water paints and watering inks and splats and yeah. So I still haven't decided what it is that I like the most. I think I'm quite into the whole mixed bag thing. I think I like a bit of everything. So they're the ones that I've actually still got here. However, there was a load of ones that I did that I've already sent out because they were for a specific. So where is it? So it was my niece's birthday, so I made her a pop-up card. There we go. Time to celebrate. And I put some little ladybugs on there, made the sign and some flowers. So that was my niece's. My dad's birthday. So I made a card for my dad. So my dad likes beer. So I done him a beer card. A Z-fold card. Like so. So I posted that off to my dad. Actually, if I turn it that way, does it? No. And then because my mother-in-law was so unwell, I did a little pop-up card for my mother-in-law too. Sending well wishes, you are in my thoughts. So I made a pop-up card. Absolutely love doing those. And then finally, I think I did a card for my sister. So obviously my Christmas cards, I think I posted these already on Instagram. So cards there. And I've done a bit of stamping and shading, those ones. Some Christmas specials. So yeah, I've tried a bit of everything. Oh, these ones were with some vellum. So these were Christmas cards that I sent out for the family. So that is it. That is the grand scheme of everything that I have done of this month. The card making, I don't know if it's because I'm still setting myself up and, you know, I need to buy the dies and the stamps and the whatevers to be able to, you know, allow myself to be creative. But it's definitely costing me a hell of a lot more money for the card making than it ever has for my stitching. My stitching is actually really not anywhere near as expensive as the card making. But I'm hoping that once I've got a lot of different things and all the bits and pieces that I need and that I love, that I'll be able to just create lots of cards and, you know, won't need to buy so much stuff. That's, well, at least that's what I'm telling myself. So there you go, people. Thank you so much if you've made it to the end of this very long video. It's been an absolute blast hanging out in the kitchen. We need to do this more often. I need to try and do it a little bit more often. And I think I need a new coffee because this coffee is stone cold now. Yeah. We need a new coffee. So I'm going to call it a day. So I hope you are all staying safe, staying happy, staying strong, stay stitching. And until next time, people, bye-bye for now.